Whenever we talk about intelligence, we are typically referring to the logical or the analytical aspect of human decision making. And depending on how good we are, marks us somewhere on the scale of intelligence. But humans are inherently emotional beings who are born with nothing but emotions, and all the intelligence we refer to is something we have gained over the years of education and experiences living in this world. So I find it very ironic that intelligence inherently doesn't refer to emotional intelligence. And unfortunately, although emotion should be our core competence since we were born with it, our mind does not fully acknowledge, understand, or even feel all emotions, not just of others, but our own as well. Does that make you wonder how come the only skill we were born with is lost over time? Welcome to Books and Brew, and I'm your host Mayur Ghadge. And today I'm going to talk about why is it that we are ashamed of crying, laughing, dancing as we would do without worrying when we were kids, but we have stopped expressing our emotions as we grow old. And while doing this, I'm going to talk about 3 ideas I liked from the book called Power of Vulnerability. This book is authored by Brené Brown, a professor in the University of Houston, and it's actually an audiobook. So, the fact that you're listening to this podcast, I presume you enjoy consuming knowledge over audio platform. So, this book will be a perfect delight to listen to. We all know the downsides of being vulnerable, isn't it? We are told that it's a weakness. It's humiliating to tell others about your vulnerabilities. Someone might not value it, or worse, might take advantage of it. We think about vulnerability as a dark emotion. We think of it as a symbol of shame, of grief, of disappointment, of uncertainty, of being exposed. So, as we grow older, we try to disguise it and we try to act cool, composed, and hide our vulnerabilities. You don't believe me? So, just take a minute and think that we all do mistakes, right? And we have our silly, stupid sides. But how many of us are okay to be open and tell others about it? We are embarrassed at times to even let our friends know about it because we wonder what might they think about us. When we are sad or grieving about something, how many of us smile at our friends and say, all's good, sab sahi hai, even though we are terribly scared inside? What we are trying to do here is we are trying to deceive and act composed and in control of the situation and not let our emotions out. And unfortunately, that's become our way of coping with our vulnerabilities by having an armor around us. But okay, now next time a stranger passing by asks you what's up, do not sit him down and tell how things aren't going your way. That's not what I meant. Not everyone has earned the right to hear our story. We need to share it with people with whom we feel comfortable with. Because although vulnerability is strength, it's an asset that depreciates if you overshare. And I'll get to this later in the episode, so hold on to this thought. So, as I said, we all know the downsides, but it's important to understand the upsides of being vulnerable to develop any form of relationships, be it strong family relationships, friendships, and also romantic relationships. So, Brené Brown believes that vulnerability is the origin of all positive emotions, be it love, joy, or empathy. And not just emotions, innovation and creativity is born out of vulnerability. For example, if you are asked to make a product which is not out there and nobody has made it or done anything like that before, how can you innovate and risk your career if you don't want to be vulnerable to the idea of failing? You can't, right? So she suggests that being vulnerable is important and necessary in life. So, how come, if it's so important and necessary, we try to deceive it or have armor to our feelings? She believes that the main reason we have this armor around us is because we are ashamed of being judged and value our sense of belonging. And I agree. It's an innate human desire to be a part of something larger than us, isn't it? And this earning is so primal that we do it by fitting in and try everything in our hand and seek approval, which, according to her, is not hollow substitutes for belonging but are rather barriers of it. We try to have this sense of belonging by maintaining a permanent act of composure. But what if, in moments of fear, sadness, anxiety, and loneliness, rather than insisting that we are good and sab sahi hai, we reveal that things really aren't going good. We are shit scared and we are finding it hard to live each day and we are in the need of help. According to Brené Brown, true belonging only happens when we offer our authentic and imperfect selves to the world. Don't believe this? So take a minute and think, who are your best friends? Those aren't necessarily the ones with whom you went on most fun trips with. But more often than not, those are the ones with whom you have had some good one on one deep level conversations about your losses, about your family problems, about your future goals and dreams, isn't it? This is what being vulnerable and being authentic really is, which has earned you a great friendship that you nurture all your life. Let me give another example to bring things more in perspective. Why do we say family comes first and value our family above anything else? In this world of globalization, wherever we live, we always want to go back home for Diwali or Thanksgiving. And it's because our family has seen us in the most vulnerable state growing up, and they still love us. And that's why we aren't scared of being judged. And that's why we put our armor down when we go back home and be our true self. And this armor can be anything. It can be the pretense of being strong, of being calm and composed, of being logical, of being everything the world needs us to be. So Brené Brown in her book talks about letting loose and stop worrying about being judged and express our emotions, as that will earn you your true belonging. She believes that your emotions will make you live wholeheartedly and enjoy your life even more. And this brings me to the second idea I liked from the book. This idea is basically what she calls guideposts for wholehearted living. In the last two chapters of the book, she lists down 10 guideposts how the wholehearted people live, and she has come to these through researching hundreds and thousands of people who live wholeheartedly in their life. So you might question what qualifies people as wholehearted, right? She gives a very elaborate explanation and definition for wholehearted people. But I won't repeat it here, but just touch upon the conclusions. We might think that we all are wholehearted beings, aren't we? And we would want to feel that. But in her research, she found that only 20% of the people she interviewed are wholehearted. And of those, only 25 to 30% were brought up that way. The remaining 70 to 75% people fought their way to become wholehearted in their life. So let's look into these guideposts briefly. The first one is about cultivating self-compassion and letting go of perfectionism. So what she means is that we typically beat ourselves up to be perfect in everything, to be best at everything we do. She says that wholehearted people are kind not just to others but to themselves as well. They practice self-compassion and are fine being not perfect. Not being perfect in this competitive world and still being kind to yourself is a sign of being wholehearted according to her. The next guidepost for wholehearted living will resonate with most of the listeners. It's about cultivating play and rest in life and letting go of exhaustion or as a status symbol and productivity as self-worth. According to Brené Brown, playtime is something you spend your time on without purpose. Something you don't want to end and you lose track of time doing it. As kids, we all had something we liked so much that we lost track of time. But as we have grown older, we are always on the lookout for a time on our watch. So Brené Brown asks us to add white space in our life. Add some time on your timetable where you do nothing, absolutely nothing. We are always trying to go somewhere So don't live in the present. Some people say that they want to work hard until they are 40 and then take an early retirement and relax. But this isn't the way wholehearted living looks like, according to her. You should work and rest and enjoy equally. And this is also highlighted in Bollywood film Zindagi Na Milegi Dobhara, where Hrithik Roshan is always running in his life to achieve an early retirement and gives up a lot of things in this process. Only later, when he meets Katrina Kaif, he realizes the importance of adding white space in his life and he starts enjoying his life. But come on, not all of us are going to get a Katrina Kaif as a scuba diving instructor. I mean, at least I didn't get one. Mine was a 6 feet tall man and definitely wasn't as fun. We are neither Javed Akhtar to have this life enlightening poem running in the background for us to realize that we have to live life wholeheartedly. So make sure you go out and start enjoying your present and stop bragging about being exhausted, about being busy all the time. Don't think being busy is important or a status symbol. And by enjoying, I don't mean to give up your day job and then chill out. Try to add meaning to your day job and then enjoy it as well. The next guide post is about trusting your intuitions and letting go of the need for certainty. This year of 2020 definitely taught us that. So she asks us to give up our need, our obsession to have certainty in life and embrace uncertainty while believing in our intuition. And this isn't a need only for wholehearted living. In our episode number 7, we went through Malcolm Gladwell's book Blink, which also stresses on the importance of intuition and how it's important to trust it even in our rational decision making. I'll link the episode in the show notes. So Brené Brown says that it's okay to be uncertain and content in life rather than being certain and miserable. So whenever you are in doubt about something, just wait it out and have patience. The next guide post is about cultivating creativity and letting go of comparison or fear of being compared to. Brené Brown stresses that all the wholehearted people are creative and they actively engage in creativity. So she asks us to try exploring our creative sides that defines you or is a representation of you. You don't have to be best at it, but you have to be able to enjoy it. She said something about creativity and that resonated with me a lot, and I quote, "Unused creativity is not benign. It does not dissipate. It metastasizes. It spreads like cancer. It turns to rage, grief, pain, shame, mocking, judgment, all the bad emotions." Stop quote. If not before, but after Elon Musk's tweet on the website Etsy, we all know about it. But what is Etsy? It's just a platform for creative people to sell their creative stuff online. I recommend you all to look at it. If not buying, it's an amazing window shopping place sitting on your couch. At least that's what I do. So these are some guideposts I talked about, and there are many more, a total 10 in the book. But I hope you got a sense, and I'd highly recommend to check the book for all the details. The third thing I liked from the book is about something I made a passing reference in the beginning of the episode. The idea of too much vulnerability or sharing too much in front of people who aren't the right audience to express your vulnerabilities with. This she calls floodlighting. Let's assume you tell something to someone and they show empathy. That creates this small light connection between you two, which is intimacy. But if you share something that is too personal and the person hasn't earned the right to listen to it, or the place and the time you chose is wrong, then it's just floodlighting. And the term is very smartly coined according to me. It's similar to the idea that if you have a floodlight in your face, you shut your eyes, don't you? Similarly, floodlighting of emotions, the other person will just shut down emotionally. Another form of floodlighting, according to Brené Brown, is when you overshare and cross the line to become a sympathy seeker. And that's bad as well. So that's why I mentioned in the beginning that vulnerability is important to embrace, but it's an asset. and it should be spent wisely, otherwise, its value depreciates. So, this book is narrated by Brené Brown herself, and she's extremely passionate about her topic. And that's why this audiobook becomes a even more delight to listen to. She adds a lot of personal stories that adds to this experience. This book is like a summary of her entire work, but if you want to go deep in her research and aspects of the book, check out her other books. That will help you understand more about her work and about the things she talks about. This book is rated at about 4.6 on Goodreads, and I wouldn't rate it any less than that. So, there are three types of people. First are the ones who don't show emotions but understand its importance. For them, I guess it's obvious why this book is a must read. The second type of people are the ones who are emotionally intelligent, but I still recommend this book to them so that they understand the nuances of emotions. And third are those who don't believe in emotions. But I guess I lost them in the first 2 minutes of this episode. Just kidding. But jokes apart, to them also I recommend this book to give a shot, and maybe you might have a change of thought. Because living wholehearted and with emotions is not a goal, it's a process, and you have to keep on working towards it. And it's never late to start, and you can never achieve it entirely either. So, why not start today? Do let me know how you like this episode, and if you have any recommendations on a book you'd like me to discuss. My email ID is booksandbrewpodcast@gmail.com. After Blink, this is the second book in the series of understanding human behavior, and I wish to do many more in this series. So subscribe to the show on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, my YouTube channel, or wherever you listen to your podcast on. Also make sure you like and rate this show because that helps the algorithms to suggest this podcast to other listeners. Until next episode, spread the word, keep reading, happy listening.